With only 3 days left until the college entrance exam, the class beauty kicked over her desk. "I've been reborn. I memorized all the answers to this year's college entrance exam a long time ago. This time, our whole class is getting into Tsinghua and Peking University together." The whole class stared in disbelief. But the class beauty accurately recited the scope of the college entrance exam math test that the teacher had just announced. "Don't worry, I've memorized these answers countless times already. There's no way I'll make a mistake. As long as you memorize it, you'll definitely ace the college entrance exam." As soon as she said that, all the classmates rushed forward to snatch up the college entrance exam answers. Only I stood there coldly, watching this scene, unmoved. In my previous life, I kindly reminded everyone that the college entrance exam questions had been leaked, and the authorities would definitely come up with a response, but they blamed me for being jealous that they could get into Tsinghua and Peking University, and for fearing that I would leak their secret, so they locked me in the equipment room and starved me to death. "Bookworm, you're just jealous. Even if you cram by rote memorization all day, you still can't match how easily we can get into Tsinghua and Peking University. If you dare snitch, don't blame us for being rude." When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back to the day the class beauty said she had been reborn, watching them tear the review materials to pieces. I smiled and hid my own textbooks away. They thought that by memorizing the answers, they could change their fate, but they didn't know the set of exam papers that the class beauty memorized would be declared invalid overnight by the Education Bureau on the eve of the college entrance examination. What they didn't know was, this time, I not only wouldn't save them, I would also personally send them to the top of the trending searches across the entire internet. Bang. With only 3 days left until the college entrance exam, the class beauty Lin Weiwei kicked over the desk in the front row. The huge crash instantly sent the originally quiet classroom into an uproar. "Stop studying." Lin Weiwei stepped on the books strewn all over the floor and slammed a stack of printed materials heavily onto the podium. "To tell you the truth, I've been reborn and come back from the future. This contains all the real questions and standard answers for this year's college entrance exam liberal arts comprehensive paper. With it, our whole class can all get into Tsinghua and Peking University." The whole class instantly fell silent, seeing that they didn't believe her. Lin Weiwei let out a cold snort. "There's a surprise mock exam this afternoon. The Chinese essay topic is, on the preservation and change of traditional culture in the digital age. For the final math problem, the first question was differentiation, the second was case discussion, and the extremum point was outside the interval." At first, the classmates thought she was joking, until a few minutes later when the homeroom teacher suddenly pushed the door open. "Put away everything on your desks, we're going to do a surprise mock exam." As soon as those words were spoken, all the students in the class changed color. A few students in the front row grabbed their test papers and suddenly stood up. "Damn, the essay topic is exactly the same, the final math problem even has the same data." The classroom completely erupted. After the exam, the whole class surrounded Lin Weiwei, staring fixedly at the stack of A4 papers in her hands. Lin Weiwei enjoyed the star treatment and directly stepped onto a chair to stand up. She spread her arms and looked down at the classmates below. "This is a blessing from heaven for our class. While everyone else is still slogging away at practice questions, we've already gotten the key to Peking University and Tsinghua University. As long as we memorize this answer sheet, our whole class can get into the top universities." Her words completely ignited the greed and sense of superiority hidden in everyone's hearts. The underachievers, who usually could barely even meet the cutoff for second-tier universities, now straightened their backs, and were even already discussing what clothes they should wear when reporting in Beijing. What if the questions were leaked and the Education Bureau activates a backup paper? The top student in the class pushed up their glasses and quietly raised a question. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Lei, the athlete, shot back immediately. "Would Wei Shen, after being reborn, still be wrong? If you don't dare to bet, then get lost. Don't waste our chance to get into Tsinghua and Peking University. Whoever dares to spread this gets their legs broken by me." The top student shrank his neck and didn't dare make a sound. The faint questioning voices instantly vanished. "Tear them up, tear them all up. Why keep reading these lousy books now that we have the answers?" No one knew who shouted it. The classmates sprang into action instantly. The thick 5-3 was torn into pieces, and the wrong answer notebooks were thrown into the wastebasket and set on fire. The snow-white slips of paper fluttered in the air and landed on the heads of every classmate who had fallen into madness. I sat quietly in the corner, watching all of this, my heart completely unmoved, because I had also been reborn. In my previous life, I watched them sink into madness and kindly stepped forward to warn them. leaking the college entrance exam questions is a major taboo, and the Education Bureau will definitely activate the backup test paper. Everyone, don't pin your hopes on this answer sheet, hurry up and review instead. But how did they treat me? Lin Weiwei pointed at my nose and scolded me for being jealous of her and unable to stand seeing the whole class do well. Zhao Lei took the lead in holding me down on the ground, repeatedly kicking my stomach hard, one kick after another. You nerd are just scared we'll do better than you on the exam. What if you go and snitch on us? Lock her up. They dragged me into the abandoned equipment room and locked the door with a rusty iron chain. I was locked in that dark, damp room for a full 3 days, not a drop of water, not a bite of food. I banged desperately on the iron door, screaming until my throat was raw, until all my fingernails had been torn off. And I was left bloodied. In the end, I was starved to death, having been reborn into a second life. I listened to the sound of books being torn beside my ear. I lowered my head and stacked the review materials on my desk one by one, quietly stuffing them into the deepest part of my backpack. Go ahead and tear them up as much as you like. The happier you are tearing them now, the more miserably you'll cry in the end, too. To prevent anyone from leaking the news, I've prepared a confidentiality agreement. Anyone entering the training camp I'm holding over these 3 days must hand in their phones immediately and cut off all contact with the outside world. You also have to sign and put your thumbprint on it, declaring that you give up all of the school's revision arrangements for the final 3 days. Zhao Lei was the first to rush onto the podium and picked up the pen to sign it. Follow Sister Wei and you can get into Tsinghua and Peking University anytime. The people below were all jostling forward, afraid that if they signed late, they would lose their chance to go to college. When the agreement was passed to my desk, I didn't even look at it. I crumpled it into a ball and threw it straight into the trash can. I won't sign. The noisy classroom instantly fell silent. Sun Xiaoxiao, one of Lin Weiwei's followers, folded her arms and spoke in a sarcastic tone. Oh, look, our top student has gotten scared. Are you afraid that us usual bottom-of-the-class losers will just memorize the answers and easily trample you underfoot? You've sat on the throne of first place for so long that you can't even stand to see anyone else turn the tables. Zhao Lei kicked over the chair in front of me, making a loud crashing sound. Coward, if you're afraid of taking the risk and can't handle it, then get lost already. Don't stand here and get in our way. Her boyfriend, Zhou Chainan, suddenly stood up. Jiang Yu, what are you pretending to be so superior for? All 38 people in the class are fighting desperately for their futures, and you're the only one insisting on being different and special. He grabbed the books off my desk and slammed them to the floor. How come I never realized before that you're so selfish and only care about yourself, unable to stand seeing others do well? Do you think only if you get good grades yourself can you show off your sense of superiority? Lin Weiwei, standing at the podium, suddenly reddened around the eyes. She covered her face and began sobbing loudly. Jiang Yu, I know your grades have always been good, and you've always looked down on me, but this is everyone's only chance to change their fate. If you absolutely refuse to join us, are you planning to report us to the Education Bureau after we get into the training camp? Won't you be satisfied until you ruin everyone's life? The expressions on all 37 faces in the class instantly turned ferocious. Dozens of people quickly closed in, blocking my seat so tightly that not even a drop of water could get through. Zhou Chenan grabbed my collar and slapped the agreement onto the table. Jiang Yu, I'm giving you one last chance. Sign it right now. If you dare cut off everyone's path to Tsinghua and Peking University, dare ruin my future, then we're breaking up right now. He lifted his chin, certain that I would, like countless times before, bow my head and admit I was wrong. I raised my hand and slapped away the hand gripping my collar, laughing out loud. Fine, then let's break up. Zhou Chenan froze for a moment, then kicked over my desk in a fit of rage. Do you fucking think I wouldn't dare? He turned and roared at Zhao Lei and the others. Pin her down on the table for me. Today, she's signing this, whether she wants to or not. Zhao Lei and the 4 boys from the sports school immediately rushed over and twisted my arms behind my back. Zhou Chenan grabbed my right hand, shoved the pen hard into it, and, holding my hand, signed my name on it. After doing all that, he tossed the agreement to Lin Weiwei and pointed down at me arrogantly. Jiang Yu, you'd better keep your mouth shut. If you dare snitch, I'll make sure you won't even know how you died. Lin Weiwei flicked the paper in her hand and raised her chin at me. Bye-bye, poor nerd. When we come back with our Tsinghua and Peking University admission letters, you can cry all you want down at the second-tier line. 38 people poured out of the classroom in a mighty rush. In the empty room, I was the only one left. Suddenly, I let out a cold laugh. A bunch of fools, once they got into the exam room. They'd realize how naive their ideas were. 3. After they left, I opened my study materials and began working through the problems. During the day, I followed the review pace of the teachers in each subject, going back over every knowledge point and filling in the gaps. At night, I focused specifically on high-intensity problem-solving practice based on the question types from past college entrance exam backup papers, preparing for the real test ahead. Meanwhile, the closed training camp led by Lin Weiwei had completely changed in nature. It was called a training camp, but in reality, it was just a 3-day all-out party. Every night, I could see their updates on WeChat moments. Zhao Lei stayed up all night playing games with a few boys. Sun Xiaoxiao, meanwhile, took a few girls into the city for a shopping spree. The most disgusting of all was Zhou Chenan. He posted a group photo, in which he was affectionately wrapping his arm around Lin Weiwei's shoulders, the two of them holding up their wine glasses and laughing wildly. He directly tagged me in the comments section. Some people are still struggling in a sea of exam questions, not even able to touch the threshold of college. How pathetic and pitiable. Within seconds, dozens of mocking replies followed underneath. Forget that nerd, she's definitely hiding under the covers crying right now. Once we get our admission letters, she won't even be fit to lick our boots. I looked at the mocking words on my phone screen and swiped away the notification. I picked up the scratch paper and continued working through the final, complicated function problem on the test. Arguing with a group of desperados about to plunge into the abyss was meaningless. My battlefield would be the exam hall 3 days later. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The first subject of the college entrance examination was Chinese. The moment the exam papers were handed out, I quickly glanced at the essay topic, adapting to change, finding certainty in uncertainty. It was completely different from the essay Lin Weiwei had memorized, on the preservation and transformation of traditional culture in the digital age. I sneered coldly, tightened my grip on the pen in my hand, and began writing furiously. All these questions were within the key areas the teacher had repeatedly emphasized before the exam, and I had already previewed them in advance. Lin Weiwei, who was sitting diagonally in front of me, didn't even look at the questions. After getting the exam paper, she picked up her pen and frantically wrote on the answer sheet, filling in the standard answers in her head, then simply lay down on the desk and dozed off. The invigilator walked over and tapped her desk, and she rolled her eyes before changing positions and continuing to sleep. In the following exams, almost everyone in senior year class 1 was in this same state, handing in their papers early. They made a loud racket outside the exam hall, recklessly discussing whether to buy first-class plane tickets or business-class high-speed rail seats to Beijing. After the final subject, English, was finished, the cordon was lifted. As soon as I walked out of the exam hall, I was blocked at the school gate by Zhou Chenan, Zhao Lei, and a few others. Zhou Chenan looked down at me from above, letting out a sneer. "Oh, isn't this our former top student? Why do you look so awful? Did you realize you can't solve a single question on the exam paper?" Zhao Lei slapped his thigh exaggeratedly from the side. "Our class's top scorer for this year's college entrance exam is totally done for." Lin Weiwei walked over in her high heels and reached up to fiddle with her freshly done hair. "Jiang Yu, we're all classmates here. I don't want to take things too far. Once I get my acceptance letter from Tsinghua and Peking University, I'll go ask the student council to arrange a toilet cleaning job for you there. At least that way, you can soak up a little of the prestige of the nation's top university. What do you think?" Laughter broke out all around them, and Zhao Lei was laughing so hard he couldn't even straighten his back. I swept my gaze over their distorted faces, said nothing, and turned to leave. "Laugh all you want, while you still can." That night at 8 o'clock, people in the class group chat were still daydreaming about getting into Tsinghua or Peking University, discussing which KTV they should go to for an all-night celebration. The homeroom teacher suddenly sent over a document, interrupting their revelry. Reference answers and scoring standards for the National Unified College Entrance Examination, Paper B. Right after that, the homeroom teacher sent a message to the entire class. "Classmates, urgent notice, due to major security issues with the originally scheduled exam paper, Paper B is now in use. Everyone, quickly compare your answers with this Paper B answer key, estimate your score, and make your college entrance exam application choices in advance." The WeChat group that had been frantically flooding the screen instantly fell silent. Lin Weiwei asked in disbelief, What B version?" For immediately after, Zhao Lei sent more than a dozen bright red question marks in a row. "B version? What B version? Old class, did you send the wrong file?" Lin Weiwei quickly jumped out next, sending 3 voice messages in a row, her voice all trembling. "Impossible, absolutely impossible. This year's exam paper was the one I provided. How could they suddenly switch the paper? It must be that the Education Bureau made a mistake. Don't believe this document. Sun Xiaoxiao also chimed in. Exactly. The answers given by Goddess Wei even matched the data. How could they possibly be wrong? No one paid any attention to their sophistry. On the group chat screen, the system notification kept ringing madly. The classmates didn't have time to reply. They hurried to open the file and verify their answers with trembling hands. A few minutes later, the group erupted into miserable wails. Question 1 is C. I chose A. How can all the answers in the humanities paper be different? The final big problem in math isn't calculus at all, it's solid geometry. It's over, we're doomed. I didn't even look at the questions. I just copied down the answers Wei Shin gave me, that version B reference answers sheet, which was completely at odds with what they had written on their papers, shattered their 3-day dream completely. Desperate curses and angry questions instantly flooded the screen. Lin Weiwei, come out. Didn't you say you were reborn? Is this what you called the key to Tsinghua and Peking University? I tore up all my books and even handed in my phone, all for the sake of memorizing your lousy answers. I even bought a high-speed train ticket to Beijing. You owe me my future, you liar. Faced with the completely out-of-control situation, Lin Weiwei panicked. She immediately sent a long voice message in the group chat, trying to muddy the waters. Everyone, don't panic, this must be an accident. It's the old stubborn folks from the Education Bureau causing trouble. Rebirth itself goes against the natural order, so it's normal to encounter some setbacks. Believe me, the college entrance exam isn't the only way out. I've come back from the future and know which industries will be the most profitable in the coming years. As long as you follow me, even without going to college, you'll live better than others. Zhou Chenan immediately jumped in to echo the sentiment. Exactly, would Weiwei lie to us? Blame the Education Bureau for changing the test papers at the last minute. A bunch of people who've never seen the world. Is the sky going to fall just because you can't get into college, with Wei Shin leading you to make a fortune, and you're still here complaining about fate and blaming others? You really don't know what's good for you. The two of them played off each other, trying to redirect everyone's anger toward accidents and fate. Once again, they put on the airs of saviors, treating these classmates who had just experienced despair as fools to be deceived. The torrent of curses in the group chat indeed paused for a moment. Those underachievers who usually ranked at the bottom seemed to have grasped their last straw. Just as they were desperately trying to reassure everyone and preparing to continue painting a rosy picture, I leisurely tapped on the keyboard and sent a message in the group chat. Estimated score, 715, 3 numbers, plus a punctuation mark. Directly smashing the budding sense of complacency in the group chat to pieces. Immediately after, I tossed out 9 high-definition photos. Those were the meticulously organized review notes for each subject that I had compiled over the past few days. On them, all the key points and question types covered in Exam B were densely marked in red ink, especially for the final solid geometry problem in math. I even wrote 3 different solution approaches. I added a caption. Fortunately, I didn't tear up my books. Following the teacher's pace for review is still the safest approach. As long as you stay grounded in your daily studies, there's no need to fear even if you encounter a B-level exam. Wishing everyone excellent results as well. My estimated scores and notes landed squarely on each of their faces. The group chat fell into dead silence once again. Not a single person spoke, but I could imagine the 37 distorted faces behind their screens. Jealousy, resentment, regret. They tore up their textbooks with their own hands, burned their mistake notebooks, and gave up their last moments of review time. They even handed in their exam papers early in the test hall, mocking me, who was still buried in my work. Now, they don't even have the materials to retake the exams. Zhao Lei sent a voice message in the group chat, his voice trembling uncontrollably. Jiang Yu, did you already know they were going to switch to paper B? Zhou Chenan also got anxious and directly tagged me in the group chat, his tone furious. You clearly knew the answers were wrong. So why didn't you warn us? You just wanted to watch us make fools of ourselves, didn't you? I looked at the accusations on the screen and laughed out loud. I warned you already. In my last life, I even lost my life. In this life, why should I still save you all? I didn't reply. I just switched my phone to silent and tossed it aside. This is just the beginning. When the results are finally announced, there will be an even bigger surprise waiting for you. 5. The next day, the estimated rankings for the college entrance exam scores were posted on the bulletin board at the school entrance. My name, along with the estimated score of 715 points, was prominently displayed at the very top of the list. Behind it trailed a long string of glaring red zeros. In Class 1 of Senior Year 3, everyone failed except me. The top scorer was the academic ace who had been the first to raise objections back then. With 510 points in the exam room, he was the first to notice that the questions were completely different from the answers, and in his panic, he could only do the problems himself. 3 days of indulgence before the exam, combined with the immense shock of the paper swap, caused him to completely underperform, scoring more than 100 points below his usual level. This matter quickly blew up, becoming the school's biggest laughingstock. The scandal of the rebirth class spread like wildfire, and the groups of every class were frantically forwarding the first class's book-ripping feat. The parents were dragged down with them and lost face as well. In the parents' group chats, parents from other classes mocked them with open and hidden sarcasm. The parents of Class 1 are really something, tearing up books right before the exam. Are they planning to go work on construction sites together? I heard they even set up some kind of closed-door cram camp, so that's what they were training for, how to hand in blank papers. The parents of Class 1 were so angry that they didn't even dare to make a peep in the group chat, and instead turned around and vented their fury on their own children under immense pressure. Lin Weiwei completely snapped. She gathered everyone together again and, with bloodshot eyes, came up with an extremely vicious plan. The only way now is to drag Jiang Yu down with us. We'll say that she stole the original questions from version A, which is what caused the exam paper to be leaked. We're all victims here. We were dragged into this by her. Zhou Chenin immediately chimed in, his voice carrying a hint of madness. Yes, as long as we all stick to the same story and say Jiang Yu was jealous of the whole class and deliberately leaked the exam questions to ruin everyone, we'll collectively petition the Education Bureau, demand severe punishment for the one who leaked the questions, and ask for a chance to retake the exam. Zhao Lei slammed the table hard and cursed. Do it like that. Why should she score 715 while we have to go to junior college? That proposal instantly ignited everyone's last hope. They pinned all their resentment and failure on me, as if destroying me would bring them salvation. I had long expected them to resort to such despicable tactics. While they were busily organizing people to write the complaint letters, I slowly opened my computer. I anonymously sent a file to the school leadership's email address. Inside the file were 2 gifts. The first piece was the full recording of the day they forced me to sign the confidentiality agreement in the classroom. Zhou Chenin's death threat was crystal clear. Zhao Lei's violent act of having people pin me down onto the desk was recorded in full detail. Lin Weiwei's arrogant remarks about rebirth and the college entrance exam answers were also recorded. The second item was a video of them going wild tearing up books. In the video, 38 people were in a frenzy. Thick review materials were torn to pieces. Wrong answer notebooks were thrown into the wastebasket and set on fire. They shouted that they were going to Tsinghua and Peking University, while insulting me, the bookish nerd who refused to go along with them. Click, send. The prompt tone confirming successful sending rang especially clear in the quiet room. After doing all this, I turned off the computer. The sky outside was dark and overcast, with faint rumbles of thunder drifting in. I sat quietly on the sofa, waiting for the storm to arrive. 6. The Education Bureau and the school responded with swift decisiveness. Early the next morning, all the students in senior class 3, class 1 were called to the academic affairs office for questioning. More than 30 people were crammed into the spacious conference room, still all talking at once and throwing dirt on me. It was Jiang Yu who stole the original questions from paper A. She's jealous of us and deliberately leaked the questions to make us switch exam papers. The principal, his face grim, directly clicked the play button on the big screen. The conference room speakers instantly burst with Zhou Chenin's arrogant roar. Today, she'll sign this whether she wants to or not. This was followed by the violent scene of Zhao Lei and his men pinning me down on the table, and then Lin Weiwei's utterly brazen declaration of rebirth. The evidence was conclusive. More than 30 people instantly fell silent, and dead silence spread through the conference room. Lin Weiwei's face turned deathly pale, and her legs went weak as she dropped straight to her knees. Zhou Chenin stared at the screen in disbelief, his lips trembling as he was unable to say a word. Zhao Lei was so frightened that he slumped to the floor, scrambling and crawling as he tried to unplug the power. The Dean of Discipline slapped the table with a thunderous bang. Extremely egregious, absolutely lawless. All students involved from senior class 1 will have their college entrance exam results for this year cancelled, and they will be banned from taking the exam for 3 years. As soon as the punishment was announced, the conference room erupted into cries and wails, one after another. I watched coldly as this group of fools suffered the consequences of their own actions, then turned and walked out of the academic affairs office. I had thought the matter would end there. That afternoon, Zhou Chenan's father stepped in. His family was in business and had ample funds. He understood that there was no way to overturn the ironclad evidence of cheating. He directly used his connections and money to stir the waters completely. Overnight, the internet was flooded with an overwhelming wave of press releases. Each headline was more sensational than the last, all of them trying to steer public opinion. Shocking, the top-ranked student in a certain high school is actually a scheming girl who set up and framed 38 classmates to take the top spot for herself. She personally ruined the classmates she had studied alongside for 3 years. They never mentioned the facts of cheating or violent coercion at all. Instead, they painted me as a scheming, vicious, and sinister woman. They said I was jealous of my classmates' good relationships and deliberately set up a trap to record them. They said I had known all along that the exam papers would be swapped, yet still kicked them when they were down after the college entrance exam. They painted me as an informant who betrayed the whole class just to come out on top. My photo, home address, and contact information were all maliciously exposed online. Online abuse followed. So what if someone like that comes first? Their character is so terrible, just to make themselves stand out. They ruined the futures of more than 30 classmates. So vicious, bookworm mentality is just dark and resentful. They can't stand seeing anyone else do well. My phone was bombarded by calls from all kinds of unknown numbers, and every time I answered, all I heard was abuse and curses. The filthy language was unbearable, and I had no choice but to turn my phone off. As I was arriving home in the evening, I caught a pungent smell of paint on the security door. Someone had spray-painted a few big words in red paint: Informer, get out. The hallway was packed with neighbors there to watch the commotion, all pointing fingers at me. Meanwhile, Lin Weiwei and Zhou Chenan took the opportunity to start a live stream online. In front of the camera, the two of them were in tears, looking utterly wronged. We really were just young and ignorant, and were misled by scammers online. Jiang Yu is our best friend. We've always trusted her so much. We never expected that not only would she not try to talk us out of it, she'd secretly record us and stab us in the back. They packaged themselves as innocent victims who had been deceived. They shoved all the blame onto me and frantically tried to win sympathy. The netizens' sympathy instantly overflowed, and the comments were filled with accusations against me. Public opinion has completely reversed. I went from being the victim to the perpetrator, denounced by everyone. 7. Faced with the surge of hostility, I didn't argue online with that group of paid trolls. Instead, I registered a brand new social media account. Since they liked playing the public opinion game, I'd play a big one with them. I pulled up the private chat logs I had previously intercepted between Lin Weiwei and Zhou Chenan. Zhao Lei and the others are just a bunch of brainless idiots. They believe anything with a little persuasion. They really think cramming a set of answers is enough to get into Tsinghua or Peking University. Dream on. Exactly. Once we've swindled this bunch of fools, we'll take that money and go study abroad. Who's going to keep taking this crap in China? Charge each person 20,000 on the pretext of arranging connections for a retake exam. 36 people means 720,000. Enough for us to live it up abroad for a while. Who cares about the lives of that bunch of losers? I didn't post this chat log directly online. To deal with this kind of profit-driven people, you have to strike at the heart. I packaged the screenshots and sent them to the parents of the other 36 students, excluding Lin Weiwei and Zhou Chenan. These parents were already at their wits' end because their children's scores had been cancelled and they were banned from taking exams for 3 years. They had been pulling strings and seeking connections everywhere, and even seriously planned to pool money to have Lin Weiwei smooth things over with the Education Bureau. Now, seeing this email and realizing that, in Lin Weiwei's eyes, their children were nothing more than fools to be used, and that their hard-earned money had almost been swindled away to fund her overseas study expenses, their rage instantly reached its peak. The victim alliance that had originally been barely held together by Zhou's father with money fell apart from within. That afternoon, Zhao Lei's father was the first to rush to Lin Weiwei's house with a group of relatives. Lin Weiwei, you little bitch, get your ass out here. You lied to my son about his future and still wanted to scam my money to go abroad. Has your conscience been eaten by a dog? Soon after, Sun Xiaoxiao's parents also blocked the entrance to Zhou Chenan's house, shouting abuse at the top of their lungs. Refund the money, spit back every bit of the kickback fee you took, otherwise, no one is getting out of this unscathed today. I'll smash your house. The fury of 36 families completely engulfed the Lin family and the Zhou family. The classmates who had once called each other brothers and sworn friendship all turned against them online after learning that they were nothing more than ATMs in the eyes of the two scammers. There were no victims at all. it was all Lin Weiwei and Zhou Chen enforcing us. They said that as long as we paid, we could retake the exam. So we cooperated with them to frame Jiang Yu. We're the ones who were most horribly deceived. Sun Xiaoxiao even threw out screenshots of Zhou Chen's crowdfunding transfer records in the group chat, with every amount listed clearly. Jiang Yu didn't leak the exam questions at all. It was all lies made up by Lin Weiwei to swindle money. She's a complete and utter fraud. When a wall falls, everyone pushes it over. The filthy water that had once been hurled at me was now being splashed back onto them in double measure. I sat in front of the computer, looking at the defection statements popping up on the screen, and gently tapped the desk. The time was ripe. I organized and packaged up all the evidence, the audio and video of them threatening me in the classroom at the beginning, the fabricated chat logs showing Lin Weiwei cheating people out of money, screenshots of other classmates turning on them, and all the evidence of them buying online trolls to launch a smear campaign against me over the past 2 days. Then I bought traffic promotion from several marketing accounts. The story took a sharp turn, instantly igniting the whole internet's appetite for gossip. The anger of netizens was completely ignited, and the comments section exploded with over 100,000 comments in just a few minutes. So that's thief crying thief. These two not only cheated but also committed fraud, so vicious, they couldn't get in on their own, and they still wanted to ruin the whole class, even tricking their classmates' parents out of their hard-earned money to go abroad. Jiang Yu is too pitiful, bullied by the whole class and then targeted by online abuse from the entire internet. They must apologize to Jiang Yu. Fraud of more than 700,000 yuan, that's enough to get someone sentenced, right? Hurry up and call the police and arrest them. In just a few hours, public opinion had completely reversed, and the entire internet was calling for harsh punishment of Lin Weiwei and Zhou Chen. 8. This matter had completely escalated into a public incident that had sparked outrage across the entire internet. Under the scrutiny of netizens nationwide and immense public pressure, the local connections of Zhou Chen's father instantly became as fragile as paper. His move to spend money to have the trending topic taken down instead triggered a backlash, and even his own company's tax issues were dug up by netizens in full. A red-headed official document was soon issued by the authorities. Lin Weiwei, Zhou Chen, and 38 other students involved in the case were found to have participated in collective cheating and were suspected of fraud and campus bullying. All their Gaokao scores from this year were therefore invalidated. At the same time, they were given the maximum penalty of a 3-year ban from taking the exam, and the incident was entered into their personal integrity records. On the day the documents were made public, the entire Class 1 parents group was deathly silent. No one was shouting about going to the Education Bureau to demand an explanation anymore, and no one dared mention making connections or pulling strings again. Lin Weiwei had completely become a national laughingstock. Her photo was turned into all kinds of memes, and wherever she went, people pointed and whispered every day. Other angry parents splashed paint on her doorstep and threw rotten eggs, unable to bear the humiliation. Lin Weiwei's parents sold their house overnight and hurriedly sent her to an obscure foreign diploma mill that nobody had ever heard of. It was said that she couldn't even pass the language requirements there, and could only spend her days hanging around with a group of international students who were just coasting through life. Her future was basically ruined for good. Zhao Lei's fate wasn't much better, because the surveillance video clearly recorded him bringing people to pin me down and using violence and coercion. The school directly issued a disciplinary expulsion order. The path he had originally been so proud of as a sports specialty student was completely cut off. No legitimate sports school would dare accept a student with a violent tendency and a serious record of dishonesty. In the end, he could only rely on connections to get by, doing odd jobs at construction sites, carrying cement every day and scraping out a living covered in dust and grime. And the one who ended up the worst off was none other than Zhou Chen. Because of this crisis, his father's company faced a collective boycott from all its clients and partners. The bank pulled its loans overnight, and the capital chain was completely severed. In just half a month, the company declared bankruptcy, and even the villa and luxury cars at home were forcibly auctioned off by the court. Overnight, Zhou Chen went from a wealthy second-generation heir looking down on everyone to a broke young man drowning in debt. He frantically called and texted me, "Jiang Yu, I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. It's all that bitch Lin Weiwei who deceived me, I was tricked by her. For the sake of our past relationship, can you help me clarify things online? As long as you speak up, the netizens will definitely believe you. Please forgive me. Can we get back together? From now on, I'll listen to you about everything." As I looked at these messages one by one, my stomach churned violently. I only felt utterly disgusted. I didn't even feel like replying. I directly blocked all his contact methods. Later, I heard from other classmates, Zhou Chenen's father, unable to bear the blow of bankruptcy, fell seriously ill. After being discharged from the hospital, he gave Zhou Chenen a severe beating and directly sent him to the most remote construction site in the northwest. He made him start from the very bottom, hauling bricks, so he could experience what real life is truly like. The person who once threatened to ruin my future now doesn't even know where his meal money for tomorrow will come from. 9. On the day the college entrance exam results were officially announced, the congratulatory notice from the City Education Bureau was posted right at the entrance of my residential community. 715 points, exactly the same as my estimated score. This score not only set a new record in the school's history, but also won the city's liberal arts top scorer title that year by an overwhelming margin. A teacher from the admissions office of Tsinghua University and Peking University came to my door in person, bringing a generous full scholarship. The neighborhood instantly erupted. Those neighbors who had once splashed red paint on my family's door were now all wearing ingratiating smiles. They jostled one another, eager to bask in the glory of the top scholar, and even came to ask me for my review notes. I shut the door right away, blocking all their flattery and fawning outside. Reporters from the city TV station sprang into action and blocked the entrance downstairs to my apartment building. Their microphones were almost poking my face. Student Jiang Yu, as the top scorer in the city, do you have any study secrets to share? I heard your class was previously involved in a collective cheating scandal. How did you stay true to yourself? The reporters were still vying to ask questions, trying to pry more dirt about Class 1 out of my mouth. I ignored their gossip and just looked into the camera, speaking in a calm tone. Clever shortcuts may bring temporary glory, but steady effort and honesty are the only path to success. Those words were broadcast across the entire city. It also became the final verdict on the absurd farce involving Lin Weiwei. On the eve of the new semester, my phone screen lit up a few times. When I opened it, I saw messages from several classmates who had followed Lin Weiwei in tearing up the books back then. Jiang Yu, we're sorry, we were under some kind of spell back then. I'm working in an electronics factory in the south screwing in screws now, putting in more than 10 hours a day, and my hands are blistered. My parents borrowed money to let me repeat the year, but I didn't even build a solid freshman year foundation, and every day I look at my textbooks and just want to cry. If I had listened to your advice and not torn up my books back then, would I be able to get into a second-tier university now? Every line was filled with regret and confusion about the future. They were trying to use this method to buy a tiny, insignificant bit of my forgiveness. I looked at those words, feeling nothing at all. Those belated apologies could never erase the wrongs they had once done. If I had known today, I wouldn't have done it back then. In my last life, I had kindly tried to stop them, only to end up starving to death. In this life, they poured all their malice onto me for the sake of an elusive Tsinghua Peking University dream. I'm not a saint, I couldn't forgive them, and I certainly wouldn't waste my time on them. I didn't even reply with a single punctuation mark. I just long pressed, deleted, and blocked them, completely clearing this trash out of my world. At the end of August, admission letters from major universities were being sent out one after another. Received my admission letter to Qingbei University as I had hoped. On the bright red cover was printed the emblem of the nation's top institution. I laid the letter flat on the desk and reached out to smooth out every crease on it. I took out my phone, snapped a photo of the admission letter, and posted it to my moments. Keep your feet on the ground, and you will eventually arrive. I didn't add any extra words. Within minutes, likes and congratulations flooded the screen. I turned off my phone and packed up the thick stack of review notes on the table. My new life was finally about to begin. At the beginning of September, I boarded the train to Beijing alone. As the train slowly pulled out, the scene on the platform began to recede rapidly. The carriage was very quiet, and sunlight spilled across my face, carrying a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. I leaned back in my seat, watching the scenery outside the window change constantly. In my previous life, in that equipment room, there was the excruciating pain of my fingernails being torn off, the despair of screaming until my throat was raw, and the agony of dying by suffocation. At last, along with this land that had birthed and raised me, it was left far behind. The train sped northward all the way. A few hours later, I dragged my suitcase and stood at the gate of Qingbei University. All around me were youthful faces coming and going, each one full of vitality. I took a deep breath of the early autumn air, stepped forward, and walked in. Before my eyes is a brand new life. It is a radiant future, earned by my own hands. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Sister asked me to accompany her for a prenatal checkup, and I agreed readily, but suddenly a barrage of comments floated before my eyes. Baby, don't go, your sister has arranged for someone to bump into you, and then you'll cause her to fall downstairs, leading to a miscarriage. Your sister's fetus has already stopped developing, so she should have an abortion, but after that, she'll have a hard time getting pregnant for the rest of her life. She needs to find a scapegoat to bear the cost of her lifelong infertility. If you go, you'll have to pay for the life of her unborn child. Don't go, guard the property your grandmother left you. Your mother and sister are in on it together. They plan to trap you for life with the life of the fetus. You'll be responsible for earning money to support the family, while they just need to stay beautiful. So, I turned around and sent my sister's medical records to her future mother-in-law. My sister Shen Lian was a baggage brought by my mother, but my father always treated her as his own, and our relationship has always been very close. So when she called and asked me to accompany her for a prenatal checkup tomorrow, I agreed without hesitation, but as soon as I put down the phone, those comments suddenly floated before my eyes. I was stunned, unable to believe that my sister, who had always been so caring towards me, would treat me this way. To be fair, my sister has always been really good to me. Every year on my birthday, she would give me beautiful clothes, urging me not to always dress so plainly. When I was bullied by a poor student, she cornered him in an alley and taught him a lesson to avenge me. When the custom watch my father gave me for my coming-of-age ceremony was stolen, it was my sister who bought a new watch to cheer me up. I suspected that these comments were malicious, intended to sow discord between my sister and me, so I waved them away and continued to handle company business. My father passed away suddenly from a heart attack last year, and my grandmother, unable to bear the pain of losing a child, also left us early this year. I had just graduated from university and had to take over my grandmother's chain hotel business entirely, which kept me very busy. Fortunately, since I was 18, I had spent every winter and summer vacation learning under my grandmother, so I was able to get up to speed quickly. As I worked diligently, the comments seemed to sense my thoughts and instantly flooded in even more. Stupid baby. Your sister isn't being nice to you at all. The clothes she buys you are the ones she tried on and didn't like, so she just tosses them to you like trash. She stands up for you and punishes the bullies who pick on you because the bullies only bully you because they were paid by her. She's jealous because your grandmother designated you as the heir, yet she's not even allowed in the company. The custom watch your dad gave you was stolen, and your sister bought you a cheap one for 10,000 yuan to cheer you up, but the truth is, she was the one who stole the real watch. She sold it on the black market and made 1,000,000 yuan, crying all the way to the bank. At this point, I couldn't sit still anymore, because I suddenly remembered, the day after I lost my watch, I overheard my sister and my mom whispering in the kitchen, as if my sister was saying she had received 1,000,000 yuan. I walked in curiously and asked her what she had done to make so much money, and she said it was from buying Bitcoin. I knew nothing about Bitcoin, only that it was a highly risky investment tool, so I kindly advised her to take profits when she could. After that, I never heard my sister mention any large sums of money coming in again, and I thought she had listened to my advice and stopped trading Bitcoin. For a while, I was quite pleased with myself, thinking I had some influence over my sister, but if what the comments say is true, then I'm really an idiot. After a moment's thought, I contacted a private detective to help me investigate my sister's medical records and the source of that 1,000,000 yuan she earned 4 years ago. Before I left work, the private investigator responded to me. My sister Shen Lian was diagnosed with fetal demise last week, and the doctor recommended an abortion within a week, with no more than 2 weeks at most. The 1,000,000 she earned 4 years ago came from the most notorious underground exchange. The private investigator even found out for me that the item Shen Lian sold to the underground exchange was a women's watch. This time, I was completely awake. So, I had been living in my sister's lies all along. The bullet comments wasted no time in piling on. Dear, not only your sister, but even your mom is a liar. Your dad never found out until he died. Your mom didn't divorce her ex-husband because he was unfaithful, it's because she was originally the mistress who came knocking. She got pregnant with your sister after drugging the man, but he refused to acknowledge her and the child, so, she had no choice but to marry your dad, the poor sucker. Your mom doesn't really love your dad. All her deep affection is fake. She loves her so-called ex-husband, who was her first love. Your mom only treats your dad as an ATM. She wants to live like a noble woman, showing off in front of her first love's legitimate wife. That's where her sense of accomplishment comes from. Baby, don't follow in your dad's footsteps, don't let your mom and sister poo you again. So, I sent another message to the private detective, asking him to help me verify my mom's romantic history and my sister's. Background: after work, I didn't return to the villa as usual but went to the large flat near the company where I usually take a nap during the day. My mother called to ask why I hadn't arrived home yet, and I said I was meeting with a client. My mother sounded a bit anxious. But you promised to accompany your sister for her prenatal checkup tomorrow, right? You wouldn't break that promise, would you? I can't go because my foot is injured, so you wouldn't let your sister down and make her go alone, would you? Let me tell you, this child is crucial to whether your sister can marry into the Su family. You'd better take this seriously. Shenlian is pregnant out of wedlock, and her future in-laws are the Su group, one of the prominent families in Haicheng. Su Corporation was founded by Su Ming, my future mother-in-law, who disapproved of Shenlian, considering her fatherless and vain. Su Ming said that unless my sister gives birth to a son, her son is not allowed to marry Shenlian. Moreover, to sabotage their relationship, she transferred her son to the South American branch. Don't worry, Mom, have I ever failed to deliver on any promise I made to you and my sister? I reassured my mother with just one sentence. After hanging up the phone, the private investigator just got back to me, confirming that everything said in the bullet screen was true. My mother's first love already had a family, but she was unwilling to let go. She drugged him and forced herself on him, resulting in my sister. She went to his house with her pregnant Belle, demanding a divorce, but the couple's love was unbreakable, and they jointly drove her out. She made a huge scene for a long time, but didn't get a single cent for my sister's alimony. Finally, she used the same method to get pregnant with me by my father and forced him to marry her. These things were well known in her social circle, so she never let me or my father get involved with her friends. No wonder my grandmother never liked my mother. It seems my grandmother knew the inside story. Probably my father was too stubborn and was completely manipulated by my mother, and my grandmother couldn't do anything about it. It's okay, though, now that I know, I won't let my mom and sister pua me, which is also a way to make my grandmother proud. I forwarded the medical records of Shenlian that the private investigator sent me to Su Ming anonymously, based on my understanding of Su Ming. Once she receives the medical records, she will definitely rush to my family's villa to cause trouble right away. I opened the surveillance back end of my family's villa. 2 years ago, we hired a new nanny, to prevent her from slacking off or stealing when she was alone at home. My mother installed this surveillance camera. However, after observing her for a while, we found the new nanny to be honest and reliable, so the camera was left unused. Since it hasn't been used for a long time, my mother probably forgot about its existence. She would never have guessed that I would be bored enough to spy on them. Before Su Ming arrived, my mother and sister were elegantly slicing their steaks like true socialites. My sister: Mom, can you guarantee that the person you arranged will ensure everything goes perfectly? My mother elegantly placed the sliced steak into her mouth. Don't worry, I hired a professional who specializes in staged accidents. She'll bump into your sister and then run away. The force will be enough to make your sister stumble into you, and then you'll fall backward, pulling her down the stairs with you. Take some medication beforehand, so even if you don't get seriously hurt, you'll bleed, making it easy to justify an abortion. That's the advantage of staging the fall in a hospital. You don't have to worry about delayed emergency response causing any accidents. After nodding, my sister suddenly sighed and seemed unable to eat anymore. Mom, why am I so unlucky? Others can have multiple miscarriages and still get pregnant, but I lose one and can't even get pregnant again. The Su family will definitely not let me back in the door. My mother forked a piece of freshly cut steak into my sister's mouth. All right, sweetheart, you need to learn to accept the facts. So what if you can't have kids? So what if you don't get into the Su family's door? Your sister will earn money to support the family, and we can just stay beautiful and carefree. You can live a fulfilling life without getting married for the rest of your life. There are plenty of men out there. You can have one whenever you want. My sister still seemed a bit uneasy. What if my sister can't come tomorrow because of something urgent? I can't delay this any longer. The doctor said if I don't get it done in time, the toxins will backfire on me. My mother reassured my sister. Don't worry, I've already urged her, and she promised she would go. She's never agreed to anything we asked and then failed to do it. My sister relaxed, ready to pick up her knife and fork again, when Su Ming suddenly burst in from outside, slapping my sister across the face. You bitch, the fetus has already stopped developing, yet you still lied to my son saying everything was fine. Go get the abortion done right now. Don't you dare pin a double tragedy on my son. My mother jumped out to shield my sister, grabbing Su Ming by the hair. "Who do you think you are? How dare you hit my daughter? I'll fight you to the end." Su Ming's two female bodyguards had a hard time pulling apart the two energetic middle-aged women after being separated. Both were disheveled, with messy hair and disheveled clothes. Even so, Su Ming had no intention of letting Shen Lian off the hook. She had two female bodyguards directly carry Shen Lian away. No need to guess. They were definitely taking her for an abortion, since the fetus had stopped developing. An abortion was the appropriate course of action. Su Ming's actions were justified both emotionally and logically. At most, her methods were a bit rough, but even if the police were called, no action would be taken against her. I poured myself a glass of wine and raised it toward the surveillance screen. "It's great. I don't have to accompany Shen Lian for her prenatal checkup tomorrow. Her baby's life doesn't need me to compensate for it anymore. Her lifelong infertility doesn't need me to foot the bill either. However, I won't let her and my mother off the hook so easily. If they think they have 800 tricks up their sleeves and I'm as straightforward as my dad, they are gravely mistaken. I'm not blind to the schemes, I just prioritize family ties more. Now, if we set aside family sentiment, all calculations will be exposed. Moreover, since I am my mother's child, how could I not have some bad genes? Come on, let's hurt each other." My mother called me, but I didn't answer. In the surveillance footage, my mother, Ms. Shen, was furious and shouted, "Damn you, Lin Weishi. Don't let me find out you're behind this." Indeed, in my mother's eyes, I truly couldn't compare to the child she had with her first love. Even though that first love had treated her cruelly countless times, I shrugged, unconcerned. What does it matter if my mother knows it was my doing, as long as I don't fall for her PUA? She's just a vain woman who's no match for me. Moreover, I'm certain she wouldn't dare to be arrogant with me. After all, I'm now her financial backbone. Without me, she wouldn't even have the right to show off in front of her first love's original wife. No matter what, the other person is still a genuine mid-level bank executive, but my mother, apart from my money, has nothing to boast about. Before my grandmother passed away, she repeatedly urged me to only give my mother a living allowance and not a single cent more. I thought this was just the natural conflict between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, so I didn't follow through. Now it seems that my grandmother was indeed the wisest person in our family. Fortunately, I also inherited my grandmother's genes. I called the financial director and asked her to immediately freeze all my mother's and sister's bank cards. My mother couldn't reach me on the phone, so she remembered to chase after Su Ming and the others. Had a private detective track the situation on Su Ming's side. Over an hour later, the detective informed me that my sister had been taken to a private hospital under the Su Corporation by Su Ming and had already been wheeled into the operating room. The detective also told me that my mother had rushed over and got into an argument with Su Ming at the surgery entrance. Another hour later, the private detective replied, saying the surgery was over. Su Ming had thrown a check at my sister and had someone send both my sister and my mother back to the villa. In fact, during this time, my mother had called me many times, but I didn't answer. She also sent numerous messages scolding me, questioning whether I was the one who caused Shen Lian's miscarriage. I checked the home surveillance to confirm that my mother and sister were indeed in the villa before I called my mother. "Mom, I lost my phone and just got it back after reporting it to the police. What did you need from me?" My mother was breathing heavily on the other end, clearly suppressing her anger. Your sister was forced by Su Ming to have an abortion. Tell me honestly, did you have a hand in this? Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? You were just asked to accompany your sister for a prenatal checkup tomorrow, and Su Ming comes to cause trouble today. Of course, I denied everything. Mom, why would you think that of me? What benefit would I get from my sister having an abortion? Meanwhile, I pretended to be shocked. Is Su Ming crazy? How could he do something like this? Did you report it to the police? If not, I will. I had never lied to my mother before, so she immediately believed me. No need. Su Ming has far more power than you do. Reporting to the police won't help. Come over quickly and let's discuss what to do next. Reporting would reveal that my sister was diagnosed with a missed miscarriage last week, which is why my mother was afraid I would report it. I drove back to the villa. When my sister saw me, she immediately started crying to me. "Cece, the Su family despises me for carrying a daughter, forcing me to have an abortion. My uterine wall is thin, and the doctor said it will be very difficult for me to conceive again in my lifetime. How am I supposed to live now?" I rolled my eyes inwardly. You were only pregnant for less than 10 weeks. How could they have determined the gender of the fetus? But I still pretended to be as concerned as usual. Su Ming is going too far, I'll help you report it to the police and expose her in the media. My mother hit me. You silly girl, your sister is already having a tough time, what good does it do her if you make it public? It's not good for you, is it? I sneered inwardly, but on the surface, I acted as usual, humbly seeking advice. So, what does Mom think we should do? My mother raised an eyebrow, looking like the typical wicked female antagonist. No matter how much you make a fuss, the child isn't coming back. Besides, Su Ming looks down on your sister because she doesn't have a proper job, so why don't you just make your sister the vice president of your company, once she has status and money? Even if she can't have children, there will be plenty of men lining up for her. You won't have to worry about your sister's future anymore. My sister, like my mother, is extremely beautiful but also extremely vain. She's always wanted to be a star, but she couldn't get into film school and couldn't endure the hardships of minor roles, so she's been unemployed all this time. Originally, my mother planned to use the fetus that had stopped developing in my sister's womb to trap me, so I could be their lifelong servant, but now that the fetus is gone, my mother can only force my sister into my company to be supported by me. Alright, I didn't directly refuse, but like before, I naively agreed. Let your sister report to my company after she finishes her confinement. I will reveal the surveillance footage and confront them before the end of my small confinement period. I will shatter their hopes when they are full of expectations and drive them all out. When my grandmother was alive, my mother constantly urged my father to arrange a cushy job in the company for my sister, but my grandmother scolded my father back with, "If she comes in, you're out." Now that my grandmother has passed away, my mother's old idea has reignited. Seeing me agree so readily, my mother was overjoyed and, taking advantage of my inattention, winked at my sister. The expression on his face clearly meant, "See, your sister is that stupid, so easy to trick." Seeing my mother so happy, I smiled and told her, "Oh, by the way, I had someone cancel both of your cards." My mother glared at me, about to scold me, but I raised my hand to signal her to listen first. "I dreamed of Grandma last night. She was furious and warned me that if I kept letting you two misuse money, she would take all three of us away. Tonight, I wasn't meeting a client, but a master. The master said I must listen to my grandmother, or something really bad will happen to our family of three." My mother was furious. "Your grandmother, even after she's gone, still meddles in everything." My sister, on the other hand, was more concerned about the money. "Did the master say when he can issue the card to us?" I looked irritated and said, "I asked the master this question. He said it will take at least until next year's Ghost Festival. At that time, he will summon my grandmother's spirit and place a talisman on her to restrain her. Only after she can no longer appear in my dreams will I be able to issue the card to you again. Is the master you found reliable?" My mother couldn't stand not being able to spend freely for a year. "Maybe I should help you find another master to take a look." I quickly waved my hand. "Is there a more powerful master than Master January?" In Haicheng, Master Yue is the top figure in the metaphysical world of Haicheng. Although I don't know him personally, it doesn't stop me from using his name to intimidate others. My mother immediately curled her lips, unable to find a retort. I thought that by stepping aside and letting my sister take the position of vice president at the company, my mother and sister would calm down for a while. But just a week after my miscarriage, my sister called me, saying she really wanted to eat at Wangyue Tower, but since my mother had a cold, she could only ask me to accompany her. My intuition told me that this meal was likely a trap, but considering my sister's stomach was already empty, and I couldn't bear to harm myself, plus I had already agreed to join her after her confinement period, I couldn't imagine what tricks she still had up her sleeve. Curiosity got the better of me, so I decided to go and see. I brought 2 bodyguards and concealed camera equipment before daring to attend the appointment. My sister requested a private room and didn't mind my 2 bodyguards joining us for the meal. She ate very properly, showing no signs of any mischievous intentions. However, as long as I didn't leave this private room, I dared not let my guard down. Sure enough, when the post-meal fruit was served, there suddenly came 2 thuds from next door, sounds of someone bumping into the wall. My first reaction was that a fight had broken out next door, but my sister's eyes sparkled with excitement as she confidently said, "It's the sound of a wall slam." I was somewhat speechless. From next door came the moans of a woman, loud and deliberate. My sister grew even more excited. "It really is an affair," I quietly observed her, trying to analyze what adverse effects the affair next door might have on me. The bullet screen appeared just in time, clearing up my confusion. "Baby, the one next door is your fiancé. Be clear, it's indeed your fiancé, but he was set up. even under the influence of the drug. He kicked the woman against the wall. The two thuds earlier were the sounds of the woman being kicked into the wall. The moaning was also the sound of the woman being badly hurt from the impact. Treasure, this is your sister again. She's afraid that after you get married, you won't support her and your mother anymore. So she wants to destroy your engagement. She actively invited your fiancé to dinner but deliberately gave him the wrong room number. Then she had a woman pretend to be a waitress to drug your fiancé and cause trouble with him. At the crucial moment, your sister will take you in to catch them in the act. Afterwards, she will claim that she gave the wrong room number by mistake and didn't tell you to give you a surprise. Baby, you have to trust your fiancé. He's a good person. Xiao Fei is a good person. I absolutely cannot agree. Xiao Fei was the fiancé my grandmother arranged for me before she passed away. The Xiao family runs a century-old restaurant, which hasn't expanded into branches, but their business is fairly prosperous. Not the best, but certainly not the worst. However, they are far from being on the same level as my family. What truly matters is that Xiao Fei is a hopeless case. He races cars, gambles, and indulges in women. If it weren't for my grandmother threatening to die, I wouldn't have even glanced at him. My grandmother claimed that she had consulted Master Yue to match our horoscopes, and we were a perfect match. After reluctantly getting engaged, I never met Xiao Fei alone, and even in my contacts, I labeled him as trash. I was just waiting for my grandmother's 100-day mourning period to end so I could cancel the engagement. I don't believe in metaphysics, so Master January's words have no influence on me. While I was still immersed in my dissatisfaction with Xiao Fei, my sister suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, that voice next door sounds just like Xiao Fei. Let's go take a look." Yes, while I was still in a daze, a man's angry shout of, "Get out," did indeed come from next door. To think that just a single note could make her associate it with Xiao Fei. My sister is truly a case of, this place has 300 taels of silver buried here. I let my sister drag me to the next room, and as soon as she knocked twice, the door was immediately opened. A disheveled waitress, upon seeing her, rushed forward as if seeing a savior. "Help me, this man is trying to rape me." My sister kicked the door open like a hero. At a glance, I saw Xiao Fei's face flushed red, pouring the ice bucket of wine over his head. Meeting my gaze, Xiao Fei immediately panicked. "Lin Weishi, it's not what you think. You were already notorious, and now you have the audacity to argue. How can you face my sister?" My sister rushed over, raising her hand to slap Xiao Fei, but I grabbed her wrist. I quickly dialed 911 with my other hand. No one's word counts. Let the police decide. My sister tried to grab my phone, but I dodged her, leaving her helpless as I called the police. I left my bodyguards to control the staff and wait for the police, then drove Xiao Fei to the hospital alone. My sister scolded me for being love-struck and absolutely forbade me to go, but I pushed her aside. The police called me, saying that the female server admitted to being swayed by lust, drugging Xiao Fei, and taking all the blame on herself. Xiao Fei gave a bitter laugh after hearing this. "I said it was a setup by your sister, and you'd definitely scold me." I gave him a cold glance. "If you can be outwitted by my sister, you deserve it." Actually, I feel quite guilty for scolding like this, because I myself have been schemed against by my sister for 22 years, haven't I? But who cares? I'll vent my anger first, like picking the soft persimmon to squeeze. Learn from my mom. Xiao Fei was stunned and did not refute further. Spent the night with him, ensuring he was fine. I stood up to leave. "Next month, let's dissolve our engagement. If you want to do it earlier, just let me know anytime, and I'll have the marriage certificate and betrothal gift sent back to your house." Xiao Fei wasn't surprised at all by what I said. He just made a request. "Out of the kindness of helping you fulfill your grandmother's wish, could we delay dissolving the engagement for half a year?" I agreed without asking why. Anyway, I have no plans for a relationship right now. Having this inexplicable engagement might also save me from being set up on blind dates with the grandsons of my grandmother's other friends. The matter of my sister drugging Xiao Fei, I hadn't yet figured out how to retaliate. When my mother started causing more trouble, after this incident, I hired a private investigator to follow my mother and sister every day. The private investigator told me that my mother had been in contact with a private fund manager named Zhou Yuan. In the video footage the detective secretly recorded for me, Zhou Yuan promised my mother that if I signed a gambling agreement, he could guarantee my company's listing on Nasdaq, and then my wealth would rank among the top 10 in Haicheng. My mother looked at Zhou Yuan with starry eyes, clearly very tempted. I was a bit puzzled. Zhou Yuan was only a few years older than me, so was my mom planning to go after a younger man? The detective quickly dispelled my doubts. It turned out that Zhou Yuan was my mom's first love son. Honestly, after being hurt so badly by her first love, she still liked his son this much. After the detective's reminder, I remembered that Zhou Yuan had come to see me with the senior management of their company. I only met with them for a few minutes before rejecting their gambling agreement on the spot. My grandmother's last wish was not to go public, and I will not go against it. Moreover, this private equity firm has a terrible reputation, and I would never consider collaborating with such a company. What's more, those two looked presentable, but their eyes were shifty, and they always evaded key issues, clearly unreliable. Little did I expect that one of the unreliable ones was the child of my mother's lifelong old flame. Knowing my mother would definitely brainwash me after meeting Zhou Yuan, I decided not to return to the villa and instead stayed in a large flat near the company. Afraid my mother would come and harass me, I disabled her access card in the system and changed the password on my door lock. But I underestimated my mother's love for money and her obsession with her old flame. She came straight to the company to find me. The receptionist followed my instructions and said I wasn't in the office, but my mother was clever enough to think of checking the underground parking lot for my car. Seeing my car parked in its spot, my mother realized I didn't want to see her, so she kicked my wheel, setting off the car alarm. She was holding a file envelope, and without guessing, it was probably the hedging agreement. I saw this scene on the surveillance camera and couldn't help but laugh in anger, knowing I couldn't avoid her any longer. I had someone bring my mother up. My mother came in and started scolding me right away. Lin Weishi, are you sick? You don't even see your own mother. What are you trying to do? I remained calm. What's the rush? What do you really want from me? Afraid that her harsh words would make me ignore her, my mother quickly changed her tone and smiled, then showed me the agreement. This person is the child of an old friend of mine, very reliable. You can sign it with complete confidence. I flipped through it casually, and sure enough, the agreement was full of traps. Signing it would be like selling the company for a song. Mom, do you know what a bet-on agreement is? I asked my mother, restraining my anger, and also giving her one last chance, if she could understand my meaning and refuse this agreement, and never interfere with my company's affairs again. I think I would still take care of her in her old age and see her off in her final moments. But my mother disappointed me too much. She gave me an impatient look. She, don't treat your mom like a fool. Of course, I understand what bet on means. There's always risk in gambling, but this person is different. He's the child of an old friend of mine, and he definitely won't let us lose out. When the company goes public, the assets will multiply many times over, and you'll be proud too. Only you and my sister are proud, right? With more money, you spend even more recklessly. As a homebody who just likes to watch the sunrise and sunset and daydream, more money doesn't mean anything to me. I directly tore off my mother's mask. Is it because the other party is your old flame's son, so you think it's feasible? My mother's expression was a bit uneasy, but her tone didn't soften. That's just one of the factors. Ultimately, isn't it because I want your career to reach new heights? How can you be so ungrateful? I slammed the agreement on the table, my tone sharp. Let me be clear with you. This agreement is a trap. Signing it would mean selling the company for a pittance. By then, not only will we not make more money, but even the villa we live in might have to be sold to pay off the debts. Do you really want me to sign this agreement? My mother only paused for a second before launching into a lecture. Don't exaggerate things to scare me. No wonder Zhou Yuan told me you're too conservative, always exaggerating difficulties, and stuck in your ways. He said I should really talk some sense into you. You truly are beyond redemption. If that's the case, let your sister take over. She has much more guts than you. I was utterly speechless, leaning back in my chair and quietly watching my mother. My mother had never seen me with such a cold expression before, so she quickly toned down her demeanor and poured me a glass of water. All right, what's said in the heat of the moment among family doesn't count. Don't take it to heart, okay? Mom just loves you too much and sometimes speaks without thinking. The bullet screen promptly popped up. Baby, don't drink that water. Your mom put a hallucinogenic drug in it. She'll notify her old lover's son to come up, and when you're hallucinating, he'll get you to sign the gambling agreement. That's right, they'll even record a video as evidence, and by then, you won't be able to defend yourself. I felt a chill in my heart, set the glass down with a stern face, and lifted my eyes to look at my mother. All right, I understand. You can go back first. I'll think about the agreement some more. My mother picked up the cup again and held it to my lips. How about this? You take a sip of the water I poured to prove you're not mad at me, and I'll leave. If you don't leave, I'll splash the water in your face. I glared at my mother coldly. I really wanted to do that, but doing so would make my mother wary of me, which would hinder the revenge plan I had just devised, so I could only scare her a little. When my mother saw that I was genuinely angry, she quickly poured the water from the cup into the flower pot. All right, don't be mad, I'm leaving now." Not long after she left, the private investigator sent me some photos. As soon as my mother went downstairs, she met up with Zhou Yuan. The way she looked at him was much gentler than the way she looked at me. The private investigator also mentioned that my mother had patted her chest and assured Zhou Yuan that she would definitely sign the gambling agreement. I pressed my forehead, strongly wanting to carry out the revenge plan I had just thought of, but because it was too bloody, I still hesitated a little. I opened the home surveillance, hoping to find something that would soften my heart. In the villa's living room, my sister saw my mother come home and immediately ran up to ask, "Has my sister signed yet?" Well, it turns out she was also in the know. My mother kicked off her shoes irritably. "It seems your sister isn't planning to support us anymore. She must have found out something." The reason for stopping the card definitely wasn't what she said about dreaming, otherwise she wouldn't have refused so decisively today. The two of them went to the restaurant to get water. My mother suddenly said viciously as she put down her cup, "Your sister can't be kept around." My sister trembled. "Mom, are you really willing to go that far?" My mother waved her hand impatiently. "If we don't act first, sooner or later your sister will make our lives a living hell." I couldn't help but applaud my mom in my heart. She really knows her daughter well. On the monitor, my sister cautiously asked, "So what do you plan to do?" My mom casually replied, "Just give her some dairy products." Her tone was as natural and easy as going to the bathroom to relieve herself. I am severely allergic to dairy products. As a child, I accidentally drank a beverage containing milk, which caused throat swelling and difficulty breathing, almost leading to my death. My sister seemed a bit panicked, but what she said chilled me even more. "What if she doesn't die?" My mother gently patted my sister's face. "As long as we delay the rescue, her brain will be deprived of oxygen, and even if she doesn't die, she'll become a fool. Then you'll be the company president." Seeing this, my eyes turned completely cold. This mother, it seems, cannot be kept, and that sister should be sent away together. There's no need to hesitate about my revenge plan anymore. I lied about sending a gift to an elder, fearing they might refuse, and paid a travel agency friend to send a free overseas travel voucher to my mother's old lover and his family of 3. They said they won the grand prize as the lucky guest of the travel agency by purchasing plane tickets to ensure the trip for the family of 3. I asked my friend to set the travel voucher to a no-play no-refund policy and make it non-transferable. As a family of 3 with ordinary salaries, the nearly 200,000 yuan prize voucher was too valuable for any of them to give up, so they traveled as scheduled. Seeing the forwarded photos of my first love's family on their overseas trip, my mother was so flustered that she temporarily put aside the matter of harming me. She demanded that I release control of her bank card, as she also wanted to travel abroad. I reluctantly agreed, allowing her to bring my sister along to relieve some stress abroad. The two of them happily set off. As expected, my mother followed the path of her old flame, which now worked in my favor. 3 days later, I received a call from the police, informing me that my mother and sister had gone missing overseas, along with Zhou Yuan. The ones who reported the case were Zhou Yuan's parents. 2 days later, I received a call from my mother, who said that she and my sister had been deceived into going to Southeast Asia and asked me to rescue them. Before she could finish, the call was cut off. I naturally had no intention of rescuing them. I spent so much money arranging a trip abroad for her old lover and his family of 3 as bait, and even more money hiring people to sell them to Southeast Asian sweatshops, tricking Zhou Yuan into going to northern Myanmar. How could I possibly save them? However, to clear any suspicion, I still reported it to the police, but I only reported it to the police. The police, in cases of cross-border disappearances, can only report them to the local authorities and request assistance in the investigation. As for the locals, they were already used to it and treated it as if they had never received any assistance letters. Without the malicious mother and sister around, and without any scheming individuals trying to take advantage of my company, my days were simple and peaceful. I sold the villa and lived alone in a large apartment, enjoying the colorful sunsets from the floor-to-ceiling windows, carefree and at ease. Half a year later, a shocking news broke out. A tech company in China went public on the Nasdaq, and the founder who rang the bell was none other than Xiao Fei. Seeing the news photos, Xiao Fei, who had ditched his usual nonsensical attire, was dressed in a proper black suit. Ringing the bell, almost made me lose my mind. In my impression, he was just a social scum, so how did he suddenly become an outstanding elite? The message Xiao Fei sent me provided the explanation. This message, I wrote and deleted it multiple times. It's harder than a NASDAQ roadshow. The family restaurant has been passed down for 100 years. As the sole heir, not inheriting the restaurant is a sin. My entrepreneurship is seen as heresy in their eyes, and they have always suppressed me. I can only act like a social outcast to make them give up on me, so I can secretly start my own business. I'm sorry to have dragged you into this drama. What I fear is not the family suppression, but that you will believe those performances and truly turn away. The family restaurant isn't bad, but it's the glory of our parents' generation. What I want to create is a world of our own, one that bears both our names. So, don't cancel the engagement, okay? Give me a chance, and I will use all the stars and seas of the future to compensate you, as the price for dragging you into this drama. Is that okay? To be honest, although the message clarified things, the depth of emotion in it felt abrupt to me. I consider myself unworthy of such deep feelings from him, as apart from a loveless engagement ceremony, we have had no other connection. So I replied, sorry, you're making me uneasy. Did you mistake me for another woman? I've come across plenty of mistaken identity dramas when I was bored. Xiao Fei quickly sent a photo. I took a closer look and recognized it as a photo from 2 years ago, when I was hiking with friends and performed CPR on a girl who had been in a car accident. At that time, a car had flipped off the embankment and landed on the riverbank. My friends and I were hiking nearby and naturally ran over to help. I was puzzled and sent a message. What is your relationship to the girl? Otherwise, why would she promise herself to you? Xiao Fei quickly replied, I'm sorry, but I'm actually the one at fault. My motorcycle had a problem, so I stopped right there. Only after the car flipped over did I realize I had stopped in a blind spot at a turn. They suddenly noticed me, panicked, and swerved the steering wheel, causing them to fall off. You performed nearly 40 minutes of CPR on the girl and saved her, which means I won't have to live with a guilty conscience for the rest of my life. So, please accept my belated gratitude. Me, so, your gratitude is to repay kindness with enmity and get engaged to me? Xiao Fei sent a panicked emoji. No, it was really because Grandma asked me to that I agreed to the engagement. When I found out you were the hero who saved someone, I felt an excitement that it was fate. If you really don't want to continue, I promise not to bother you, but before that, I hope you can get to know me better before making a decision. I still didn't understand. Did you put some kind of spell on my grandma? Otherwise, how could she have been so blind as to look at a social scum? Xiao Fei, Grandma is my investor and helped me hide it from my family. The only condition was that I marry you. She has quite the eye for things. Even when I was ready to give up, she insisted that this project would work. And it really did. Judging by people, Grandma shouldn't be wrong either. Why don't you trust her once? After thinking about it, I replied, I will consider your suggestion. Half a year later, I got my marriage certificate with Xiao Fei. Fate as swift as lightning and flint only ever happens in novels or TV dramas for me. I never fell into the trap of dopamine addiction. What I sought was to unfold each other's life blueprints and find that they depicted landscapes rather than fleeting romantic moments. It's that we are both willing to become better versions of ourselves for each other, and after half a year of getting to know each other, I am certain that Xiao Fei is the one I want. As we left the registry office, I received a call from the police, informing me that authorities in a Southeast Asian country had dismantled a sweatshop, and the identities of 2 individuals matched those I had reported. Just one is dying, and the other is mad. This time, I flew there myself, with Xiao Fei accompanying me. The one dying is my mother. She is already emaciated. When I saw her, she could no longer speak. I held her hand and whispered in her ear, sorry, it was all me, but I don't regret it. Seeing that I'm as ruthless as you should be able to rest in peace with a smile, right? My mother stared wide-eyed at me, her breath cut off in extreme shock. My sister had completely lost her mind, not recognizing me at all, grabbing me and incessantly demanding that I buy her necklaces, handbags, and rings. I brought her back to the country and placed her in a mental institution. Without the disturbance of undesirables, my life went smoothly, and I enjoyed an incredibly happy life with Xiao Fei. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.